The stars, moon, and sun froze in astonishment, watching as the fairies chewed and gobbled delightfully at their encased wombs, and as a each day felt like a year to the tree. 4 years of human absence trailed 1,460 years. She was much changed. Her green stem grew thick, coarse, and brown. Her leaves were numerous and at times coated the floor, protecting only the strongest arms of her roots from winter's harsh breath. Fawning for her lost prince and his words, the tree grew, sprouting many limbs in all directions to enlarge in her grasp of the world. Time passed, and the tree began to bear fruit and give shade. Many travelers found rest under the tree's exuding warmth. Merchants, knights, princes, artists, and vagabonds all stopped to rest their journey throughout the land. Out of grace, the tree shared her fruit with those willing to spend their time. Yet if a traveler became too comfortable, the tree would begin to drop fruit on the traveler's head until they continued on their journey. For all the pleasures the tree received from the company, the tree feared that if her prince should pass and sighted a human already occupying her shade, he would avoid her seat saved just for him. After inches of time faded into the horizon, the tree began to lose hope, and a darkness threatened to dry up her fruit. Several travelers came and left, leaving no drop of water, no words of poetry, or even bothered to pull at her weeds. Now all trees have souls, thoughts, and stories, but this tree was different from conception. Her life came from the wings of a fairy buried deep out of, well, no one really knows why. All we can assume is that the pair of fairy wings grew into a tree when inspired by poetry. The love of words can blossom into a very special flower. On a particular, non-miraculous night, several buds began bearing similarity to pomegranates began to bloom. These tiny buds grew in clusters on the tree and began beaming light through the opening in the rhythm of a symphony, stealing the attention from the twinkling stars themselves. With each crescendo of light, the buds grew in size, and some cracked, allowing more light to protrude into the night's darkness. The stars, never having witnessed such behavior before, paid close attention. In the confused hour, when the sun is just about to peak above the horizon, and the stars and moon are sharing a last yawn before going to rest, the universe lapsed for a moment, allowing all to witness the miracle of life. Tiny little fairies ate their way out of the buds. As they emerged, bright, curly-haired beings poured forth with tiny ringlets, like the new growth of a willow tree. The stars, moon, and sun froze in astonishment, watching as the fairies chewed and gobbled delightfully at their encased wombs, and as a close, loved family will do after a hearty meal, a concerto of belches shook the universe back to normality, and the stars and moon instantly closed their eyes, and the sun strode high into the sky to spread its rays outward and awaken life. The fairies slept upside down the whole day with their wings wrapped around them to disguise themselves as wilting leaves. When the stars returned to open their eyes again, The fairies followed suit. About the tree they traveled, assessing what their mothers needed most. Birthed from the earth, these fairies were born with an intuitive knowledge of how life works. They sensed their mother tree's thirst, and with urgency they traveled down to the creek at the bottom of the hill to collect water. Now, these fairies were but the size of a maple leaf, and they, as tiny individuals, couldn't bring enough handfuls of water to replenish the tree. So together, they would all go down to the river and gather mouthfuls of water, as pelicans do. In the beginning of this experiment, it took the fairies a lot of practice to not break into giggling fits at seeing each other with enlarged cheeks full of water. After spending many failed nights in the attempt to gather enough water, the fairies noticed the dryness of the tree's limbs and the constant falling of her leaves. They realized their acts of selfish humor furthered no one but themselves, and put themselves to the task at hand. Each fairy committed to their duty of watering the tree with mouthfuls every night. The tree became physically much improved with the action of love from her seedling fairies. Once the fairies completed the business of watering, each one would fly about and gather all the naturally decaying plant life on the hilltop. They would prune the bushes and gather the fallen petals, and in a matter of moments, the fairies would gather all they could carry and return to the tree. The tree would then sway under the moonlight and provide a subtle kind of music that included all the sounds of nocturnal life. To this, the fairies would take their shrubbery and slowly dying plant life and together knit Spanish moss to carpet and drape their home tree. The stars became such a fan of their music and nightly rousings that even on nights of a new moon, they would shine brighter as to provide light for the working fairies. These fairies revived the tree to her former days of glory when the memory of her prince was still potent. Her memories of him faded, and her longings decreased as she found her own happiness. Thank you.